Brian Kelly would have gotten his players' attention. In case you didn't see it, an absolutely wild ending in which LSU uh, just drives down the field at the end of the game, 99 yards to score and to get the extra point block. But it was even wilder before that, as at one point it looked like that Florida State was going to be able to salt it away as a muff punt gave them the ball inside the 5, and then LSU fumbled. I was stunned, and we're going to get to the rest of the SEC in Tennessee, but I was really stunned by a Brian Kelly that I do have a lot of respect for. But the one thing he's supposed to bring to LSU is discipline, Amanda. The one thing he's supposed to bring to LSU is some sort of cohesion. And that's what Ed Orgeron didn't have. He was supposed to bring that, and I just thought they came out of the chute looking like they were put together with like duct tape.
I've never liked Brian Kelly. I don't like Brian Kelly. I did not like him at Notre Dame. I gave him the benefit of the doubt as, maybe it was being at Notre Dame that caused him not to be able to get into, to get in the playoffs and then just get destroyed by people, or to get in the national championship game and then just get, absolutely dominated by people. However, Notre Dame looked better Saturday than they've looked in years.
Oh, you want to go back to so maybe Brian Kelly was holding Notre Dame back? Is that what you're?
I'm thinking. I'm just saying maybe Brian Kelly is a Butch Jones in disguise, because it seems like he's certainly a used car salesman. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay, well, I hadn't thought about that, but let me take it a step further. I think that Notre Dame, much like Tennessee, is always going to recruit at a top 15 level, but to get to a national championship level, you've got to be in the top 5 pretty consistently. Now, his argument was that you couldn't get it done at Notre Dame because of the academic requirements, and they also handle all of the discipline that's out of the coach's hands. I don't know if you knew that or not, but those are two pretty big, significant restrictions. That was his argument, and he couldn't get those big defensive tackles to go against the Alabamas and Georgias of the world. But maybe he's just overrated. Maybe he got good talent because, there are a lot of kids in Catholic schools, Catholic high schools across the country that it's their dream to go to Notre Dame. They might be 5 stars, they might be 4 stars, but it happens every year. Maybe he is a little bit overrated because his talent base, Amanda, was so good by default because he was at Notre Dame.
I I have to say that. I have to say he was overrated. That's what it's looking like anyway. After we've seen how well Notre Dame played against Ohio State, and that's a whole nother day of discussion. Is how overrated is Ohio State, because it seems like they're really overrated in how they played, and not just the fact that Notre Dame did so well, but the fact that Ohio State. Really, it didn't even look like the Ohio State that we've seen before. You can see close games where it goes back and forth and it's hard hitting, and everybody does what they're supposed to do. It's just the other team does what they're supposed to do. So it's a very clean game, very strong game. This was a very sloppy performance by Ohio State. It just was. And Notre Dame looked pretty clean and disciplined. So, with that being said, Brian Kelly at LSU looking like a hot pile of garbage.
Hot.
It really is.
Steaming hot.
Yeah.
And they only scored 3 points in the first half. I don't know if you watched the whole game. I know you had your things to do, but they to come out of the chute was just bizarre to me. And then we're going to continue to break down the SEC, including Tennessee, but you'd seen some tweets that maybe LSU players are already thinking about cruising on out of there. Give me some background on that.
So I've seen some tweets out there where
Talk
right after Yes, right after the game, I mean, probably 30 minutes, maybe an hour after the game, Butte took down on Instagram, didn't take down his Instagram, but deleted pictures from LSU, deleted LSU out of his profile. Like normally it will say like wide receiver at LSU football, took that out of his profile, took out everything that was related to LSU. Now, whether or not that's because he's ready to head out, that's what everybody else seems to think. I think he had 2 catches last night in the game,
Mhm.
2,
Yep. Yeah,
and
he had a big drop, that was right in his hands at a key point in the game, but I'm sorry, go ahead.
so he had 2 catches, and not only the drop probably doesn't have much to do with it because I feel like receivers who like OBJ, LSU's known for him. So receivers like that typically don't think anything is their fault. However, the lack of targets that he received and just the horrible play. I don't know if it's offensive calling. I don't know if it's just the quarterback. I'm not sure what it is at LSU, but it's awful. And up to 3 of the wide receivers look like they're jumping ship.
Well, yeah, I didn't even think about that. I've never thought about that, that players could actually transfer during the season because, they are upset. Alright, let's take a look at the rest of the SEC. I mean, but it could happen. I mean, if you don't wanna be around, I don't know when they would be eligible. The NCAA is still working all that stuff out, but yeah, I guess you cruise out of there if you want to. Florida State beat LSU 24-23. Again, a blocked extra point at the end of a very exciting finish that was a whole lot of fun to watch. But as far as the rest of the SEC, I want to take a look at as we go back and uh, obviously Tennessee played on a Thursday night, played well, and then you had Missouri back on Thursday beat La Tech. But really, the game that I think caught a lot of people's interest was that Georgia game because it was Oregon, and people wanted to see how Georgia would come out. Georgia just decimated Oregon. I thought Georgia would win. I thought they would win fairly comfortably, but when I say fairly comfortably, I'm talking about 10 or 13 points, Amanda. And I thought it would be more like a maybe a 27 to 13 game, somewhere in 13, 14. I did not think it would be 49-3. So your thoughts on the Georgia Bulldogs who look darn good?
I certainly didn't think it would be 49-3 either. However, it their offense is what got me. And I don't know, we'll see how well, Oregon plays out this season. They could just be a really bad team and no one knows it. However, I don't see Georgia looked really strong. I mean, they looked really strong, and I hate to say that because I thought they wouldn't be strong this year. I thought that they would be fairly weak considering that they're replacing their defensive, like almost their entire defense. However, it looks like they're pretty strong, but we don't know how good Oregon is, and plus they have Bo Nix from Auburn as their QB,
Yeah, he's fast.
and he's
He's fast.
not great.
No, he's not. I was surprised they were that enamored with him. So I don't know if Georgia's at the plug and play mode yet, where like Alabama, it's just, oh, you got this, you lost a quarterback. Let's just go get this Bryce Young guy, and he's going to win the Heisman Trophy in year one. I don't know if they have that. I won't know that until 5 years. None of us will. If Kirby Smart goes that long and he has that type of success and he's able to just plug new 5-star guys in, then that's what he wants to do is mimic that program. Now, let's not go overboard and say he's done it yet because that was an Oregon team in which Stetson Bennett played incredibly well against. And I wonder about Oregon moving forward, just like you, even though they were the 11th ranked team in the country. So Stetson Bennett looked way better than I thought ever previously, and I've been incredibly hard on him. but we'll see if they're plug and play like Alabama. It's way too early to say that. Alabama 55 to zip over Utah State. Texas A&M hammers Sam Houston 31 to zip as well. And then Florida, credit Florida, and you and I were tweeting back and forth before we get to this interview that we have with Jacob Warren, but they were going back and forth, and I didn't think any team looked good, but I will give Billy Napier and his team a lot of credit. To beat a top 10 ranked team at home was, I thought pretty impressive, and a way to defend your turf that maybe you don't do if you're not pretty buttoned down. Your thoughts on Florida being able to best Utah?
This is why preseason rankings drive me crazy.
Amen to
This is
that.
why they drive me crazy. Utah, no one, that's the problem in, you know, honestly, just anywhere other than the SEC. We have no idea how good Utah is. I mean, we don't. We have no idea. There's no backstory for this. There's no, they've been a strong powerhouse program. It's just all of a sudden they're tossed up in there, and we're going, okay, cool. I guess Utah's really good. The experts seem to know. And they played with Florida. They played with them for a long time. And Utah, according to just watching the game, their offense was pretty good, but Florida's defense looked like trash. They looked like trash for the majority of the game. I mean, they really did. If Tennessee can take hold of that, there's going to be no amount of points that you know that Tennessee can't score. They're going to run it up, and so you have to think: is Richardson as good as Hooker is on the opposite side? Is Richardson the quarterback for Florida? Is he as good as Hooker is? Is he gonna be able to put up as many points as Hendon is against Florida?
I, I think with Anthony Richardson, it's going to be more about, and I'm sick of comparing him to Cam Newton, but it's going to be more about those key plays that he can turn in. Um, 3 or 4 times a game that changed the course of the game. I don't think he's gonna be an incredibly efficient guy, but I love the SEC network or whatever it was when Dan Mullen was on so many TVs, I don't know, but Dan Mullen, Florida comes up and you're sitting there watching this Richardson guy who he wouldn't play last year, and now he's behind a desk instead of on a sideline, and it was incredibly uncomfortable, which I love. And Richardson, I mean, he's a playmaker. I don't know how he wasn't on the field. So let's run through a couple more before we get to Jacob Warren and talk some balls. I was very impressed with Cincinnati in a loss. We talked about them losing a lot. They're never going to be a plug and play team like Alabama has been and like
Right.
Georgia might be. But I do believe that Cincinnati deserves an awful lot of credit for going to Arkansas 31 to 24. Arkansas gets the win, but Cincinnati was had the lead in that game heading into the fourth quarter, and I was pretty impressed with what Cincinnati was able to do. They look like a team that, who knows, might belong. And when I say belong, I mean in the top 20, 15-ish, and occasionally knock on the door of a college football playoff, which is now 12 teams. We appreciate everybody breaking that right after we went off the air on Friday, but which is now 12 teams. So we'll talk about that and how that changes things. Kentucky over Miami 37 to 13 on the weekend. Ole Miss over Troy 28 to 10. I want to come back to that because Amanda had a take on that. And then 42 to 16 Auburn beats Mercer. So before we get to Jacob Warren, Tennessee tied in, I know that you thought Ole Miss, even though it was a 28 to 10 win, it is Troy. And you had tweeted out at one point over the weekend that you thought the Ole Miss was in trouble. Why?
They're just sloppy. They're
Yep.
sloppy. They don't look disciplined. They I mean, I know it's Troy and I know it's Blaine Gabbert's little brother is their starting quarterback. However, it's still Troy, and 28-10, I do not believe is a good margin, especially with Lane Kiffin being such the offensive mind that he is. You would expect him to score a lot of points, especially on a team like Troy. Unfortunately,
And
he
enjoy
hasn't.
it, and enjoy it. Like,
Yes.
just put up 59 and say it, darn it, we should have 70. So, yeah, Ole Miss, I said this about a month ago. They have so many transfers, it could go way south or it could be really, really good. 28-10 over Troy makes me think that it could go south. And it makes me think that they've got a lot of work to do coming up. And lastly, something that we wanted to add, on fire or a dumpster fire, when we talk about over the weekend, on fire, dumpster fire. My top moment from the weekend is absolutely a dumpster fire, and it was that Virginia Tech Old Dominion game where Virginia Tech's coaches got caught in stuck in the elevator, which delayed the game. Virginia Tech loses. Why they're playing at ODU, I have zero idea who scheduled that. That athletic director, if he hasn't been already, needs to be fired. Virginia Tech loses, and then they find out that they had a bunch of stuff stolen out of their locker room. That's
What?
yes, during the game, players had stuff stolen out of their locker room. That's as dumpster fire as they get. If you can top me on dumpster fire on that, then I've got a Hooker t-shirt for you.
I just honestly, that is insane to me. I mean, when you get stuck in the elevator, I would just go ahead and call it a day at that point.
That was at halftime. I would have too. And it
I
was
would just
going
done it.
down to the field, not back up. And literally, I've never been stuck in an elevator, but I'd probably have a panic attack. I'm claustrophobic. I don't
So
know
am
if I,
I.
I don't know if I could coach the second half. If Amanda and I are the coaches, we're just going to mail it in. When we get off the elevator, we're walking away from ODU, and we're not stepping on that campus ever again.